This video is sponsored by NordVPN. The OnePlus 13 and Pixel 10 Pro XL is a match of power and precision, similarly to previous years, but perhaps now closer and a tougher call than ever before. I spent a serious amount of time with both of these and now back to back, and it's way closer than you might think. So let's waste no time and crack on with this head-to-head comparison. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and the Pixel 10 Pro XL is the flagship model, the best Pixel you can buy. The same goes for the OnePlus 13. They have all the tools, all the features, and that makes this comparison relevant because the pricing is actually quite different. The Pixel commands a serious $1,200 US price tag, where the 13 is currently on sale at $800, down from $900. So the Pixel is 50% more expensive in the US. But is it 50% extra smartphone? One of the most convenient and handy inventions of the last few years is certainly a VPN, and that's where this video sponsor NordVPN comes in. Not only does this service help you browse anonymously, tunneling your network traffic through another region which helps secure your connection, but it's also just really handy for watching programs, movies and sports that you just wouldn't get in your home version of Netflix, for example. Or if, like me, you're a die-hard Premier League fanatic and you go on holiday, being able to log into your streaming services just as you normally would without a fuss is brilliant, and NordVPN allows you to do that. It works on Mac, Windows, iOS and our beloved Android. It's easy to install and get set up. If you go to nordvpn.com/androidpolice, you'll get up to 77% off a 2-year plan and 4 months extra for free. So check that link out in the video description, and a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's content. Let's start off with the most obvious differences here. The 10 Pro XL, like its predecessors, is all about smarts and precision, where the OnePlus, just like its past models, leans on its power and its sheer brute force. So let me break those down for you. On paper and in benchmarks, there is simply no comparison. The 8 Elite of the OnePlus 13 wipes the floor with the Tensor G5 that's in the new Pixel, and that goes for high-end 3D games, though it's not nearly as big of a delta in real-world usage as you'll find in those synthetic benchmarks. But you do feel that the 13 is built for more power. Frame rates are steadier, which translates to a smoother gaming experience overall. But let's be real, most people buying these smartphones are not going to be sweating Genshin Impact or COD Mobile. For enthusiasts, this performance delta will matter, and fair enough. But the other 95% of buyers, it's a little bit more complicated. The OnePlus, if the past is anything to go by, will stay quicker for longer, though for right now and for most people, the Pixel 10 Pro XL's performance is nothing to scoff at, particularly as the UFS 4.0 storage helps this phone feel snappier than last year's model. What the OnePlus can't match the Pixel for is in software updates and in quality of those software updates, in my opinion. The 13 is running OxygenOS on Android 15 and it does feel quite good, but you can tell it's not quite at the level of the Pixel. OxygenOS is functional, but it runs on Android 15, and the Android 16 Material 3 Expressive on the Pixel 10 Pro XL feels refined, it feels polished, more fleshed out with the Gemini-powered AI feature suite such as Pixel Studio, screenshots, a whole host of different camera tools like Video Boost, AdMe, ProRes Zoom, so on. They all elevate the user experience, but they might not seem like a massive deal on paper. They make the phone feel more expensive, which makes sense given that it's not exactly a cheap smartphone. Physically, they are quite different. Well, actually both are very big and very heavy, that's for sure. And whilst the 13's curves from the camera bump to the screen to the rear glass all help this big phone just feel a little bit nicer in the hand, I know that the Pixel's more intentional. Flat sides will appeal to more people. I'd recommend a case on both, since they're both pretty slippery, but I'd have to call the Pixel just a little bit more high-end in its feeling, and I think that's down to two things: the polished sides and the fact it's 10% heavier, because it almost feels denser in the hand, and I think that screen also plays a big part in it too. There is a serious debate about whether flat panels or curved sides are better. I prefer the latter ergonomically, but the trend is to prefer the former. But what really makes the difference here between these two phones in particular are how these companies are tuning those screens. So whilst the OnePlus is clearly brighter in HDR content and is tuned to lift detail globally, the Pixels panel is made to be brighter in everyday scenarios outside of high brightness mode. HDR content is still pretty few and far between compared to SDR. Browsing social media, the menus, the home screen, this is all SDR stuff, and this is where the brighter Pixel panel really feels a step above. It also seems to be tuned for maybe a bit more contrast as well, which helps colors pop on the screen. Stuff like, watching full screen videos, playing games. Though there's more power to the OnePlus 13's internal components, everything just looks a step above with the Pixels panel. And that's almost exactly how I could sum up the cameras actually. The OnePlus 13 has a really good, solid set of shooters, but the Pixel 10 Pro XL gives you just a little bit more of everything. Detail, sharpness, punch, field of view in the ultra-wide. It's always 1 or 2 clicks ahead. It doesn't matter if you're taking pictures in the dark, of things really far away, of busy scenes, of simple ones, selfies, portraits, video. It's all very good out of the OnePlus, but just a step above with the Pixel. I think most people would be more than happy with the general quality coming from either of these smartphones, to be honest. They both are able to capture a lot of detail, though I do think the Pixel again nailed the white balance just a bit more than the OnePlus did. It's more so that the extreme qualities are where the Pixel pulls ahead. So for instance, shooting both at 100 times reveals the Pixel's ProRes zoom feature, generating more lifelike detail in the extremely long range pictures. The OnePlus can actually reach a bit further, up to 120 times, but the images out of that, to my eye, don't look nearly as natural. And though both are capable of 8K 30p video, Google's cloud-based Video Boost creates a far more polished final product, though I'm not actually sure many people will ever use Video Boost because it is tucked away in the settings, but they really should if they want better looking footage. Ultra HD 4K 60p does look good as well, and I think this is what the majority of people will be using, maybe brings these two phones a lot closer in line. AdMe, ProRes Zoom, Top Shot, these are all things that I think most consumers are going to gravitate towards, and in that case, there's simply nothing OnePlus can do right now with its current feature set to match the Pixel. Where OnePlus makes up its ground is in stuff like battery life, charging, the alert slider, and certainly value for money. Its 6000 mAh silicon carbon battery is just straight up better than the 5200 mAh cell in the Pixel. And so the 13 can be a 2-day phone for me, absolutely no dramas, where the Pixel Pro XL is comfortably an all-day phone, but just can't go that extra step. The OnePlus's standby time seems to be the big differentiating factor here, where the Pixel can drain quite a lot overnight if I haven't plugged it in. And the charging is also, again, another league. The OnePlus takes just over half the amount of time to hit 100% from dead as the Pixel over a cable, and though the Pixel Pro XL has Qi 2 with magnets for a secure and satisfying wireless charging experience, the OnePlus 13 beats in all-out speed even without a wire. I'm a big proponent for the physical alert slider, something that OnePlus has since canned, which I'm really sad about, but that's just not something that Google has ever offered in its Pixel phones. And when it comes to value for money, there is an obvious delta here. The OnePlus 13 offers more power, longer battery life, faster charging, but it does cost 50% less than the Pixel. So you really are paying for that extra level of quality in the Google phone, and for some this won't matter. They will simply be more happy to spend the money on a big feature-rich experience. But for the hardcore gamers, for the power users, for those who just want to save a few $100s, the OnePlus 13 is a truly excellent smartphone. You might be surprised to hear that I'm not glazing the OnePlus 13 here, because whilst that is a great phone and so is the Pixel, both of these are, well, they haven't captured my heart. They're big, heavy smartphones, and I don't want a big, heavy phone in my pocket. But if you are picking between these two, which would you pick and why? I can certainly see why people are excited for the Pixel 10 Pro series, and the 13 has remained a really good option ever since it came out earlier this year, or actually last year if you're in certain other regions. Anyway, whilst you're down there in the comments conversing about this topic, please do hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.